Cryptozoology has always piqued my interest. Although considered a pseudoscience, there are those among us that try to and want to prove the existence of the creatures that fall into this category. Chupacabra, the Loch Ness monster, and even dragons. Are these beasts really just folklore, or is there some credence to the stories that have been told for generations? Well, in this week's episode, I'm going to share several stories and pieces of evidence from real encounters with these creatures, including some excellent videos of the legendary Bigfoot. The first sighting of the Chupacabra creature comes from the northern central city of Caguas in Puerto Rico. A family claims that the creature burst through the window of their child's bedroom before eviscerating the child's teddy bear. It then escaped, leaving behind rancid meat and a puddle of slime on the floor. Then, in March 1995, things started to get really weird. Near the same region of Puerto Rico, 8 sheep were found dead, all of them entirely drained of blood. The investigation team found that each animal had strange puncture wounds on their chest, and eventually it was put down to the work of a rather nasty nearby predator like a fox. However, by November of the same year, a massive cull of rabbits, turkeys, goats, cats, dogs, horses and cows were found obliterated, all with the same horrible cause of death as the first animals in March. Naturally, this caused a massive panic amongst livestock experts and owners, causing numerous problems. At the end of 1995, more than 1,000 reported cases of blood loss were being cited across the region as the cause of death for animals. During the investigation of some of the scenes, more than one unknown three-toed track was found to be leaving the area. No specific animal around these days fits with the message that was being given, so just what could it have been? Even to this day, there's never been any proof of what left those tracks behind. The first photo of the Loch Ness monster's head and neck was supposedly taken by Robert Kenneth Wilson, a London gynecologist, on April the 21st, 1934. Wilson's refusal to have his name associated with it led to it being known as the surgeon's photograph. According to Wilson, he was looking at the loch when he saw the monster, grabbed his camera and snapped 4 photos. Only 2 exposures came out clearly. The first reportedly shows a small head and back, and the second shows a similar head in a diving position. The first photo became the most well-known of the Loch Ness pictures, and the second picture he took attracted little publicity because of its blurriness. But if we fast forward several decades to 2017, a young boy named Sam Knight took a photograph that appears to show a dark fin just breaking the water. Experts, who at first were divided over whether it was a wave or an animal, have credited it as an official sighting of the monster at the centre of the 1500-year-old Highlands legend. On October the 23rd, 2010, at about 7:15 AM, a deer hunter parked his all-terrain vehicle on a trail and quietly slipped into the still darkened woods. He hoped to make it to his favourite clearing without spooking any deer in the area. As he was walking, He noticed a very large animal walking about 10 yards ahead on the trail. Oddly, while it didn't appear to be running, the animal seemed to cover about 15 to 20 feet in just 2 strides. It made no noticeable noise, so the hunter clicked on his flashlight, and what he saw made his hair stand on end. The creature was between 7 and 7.5 feet tall, and he estimated that it weighed around 500 pounds. It was muscular and covered with dark fur, with long arms and a slightly hunched posture. I have seen a few bears, and I know positively that it was not a bear, he explained in his report. The creature quickly moved down a hillside and was gone after a few seconds. It all happened so quickly that he never even thought of using the digital camera that he had with him. I used to think that Sasquatch couldn't exist because there would be tons of pictures, he admitted, but now I can see why that isn't true. Between 8:30 and 9 p.m. on the evening of September the 8th, 2007, a local law enforcement officer was driving to answer an alarm call on a ranch when he noticed someone or something coming out of the ravine onto the roadside. I thought that I might have surprised someone who might be growing marijuana in the woods or something like that, he said. But when he hit the brakes and quickly backed up, his headlights illuminated what he described as a creature about 6 to 7 feet tall, covered with thick brown matted fur and walking upright. It had leaves and grass matted into the fur on its back, as if it had been lying down and was moving slowly. The creature turned away from the officer and returned to the overgrowth, pushing aside small tree limbs to clear its path. It was visible for only a few seconds, but he could hear the crunching noise of its movements for a bit longer. I couldn't believe what I was seeing, the officer wrote. It was definitely something I was not going to put on the radio. The Choctaw Native American tribe had long known of Bigfoot. They worshipped them in their legends and had lived alongside them for thousands of years, so they were not concerned when they would occasionally steal supplies from camp. However, when a child went missing in the dead of night in 1855, followed by another, then more, the Choctaw knew action needed to be taken. Their weapons were not powerful enough to handle the creatures, so they sought out help from other settlers. This was a time when relations between settlers and natives was anything but amicable, and they were laughed off by many for their silly superstitions. But there was one man who listened. Cavalry Captain Joshua LeFleur was part of Choctaw and was respectful of the native beliefs. Besides, if they were willing to ask for help, then he knew there must be a good reason. LeFleur organised a party of natives and settlers, all armed with rifles designed to bring down a buffalo, and they headed out to find the child stealers. The group hacked their way through the unforgiving Oklahoma wilderness for days, until eventually they came across a gigantic mound of dirt, littered with the gnawed bones of children inside. As the men tried to process the horrific sight, 4 of the creatures charged from the forest in an ambush. Carnage ensued, with the result being many of the men, including LeFleur, lying dead, as well as the 4 Sasquatch. The remaining native warriors gave all of the dead a warrior's burial and burned the bodies of the dead Bigfoot to ash as a show of vengeance. This story may seem fanciful, but military records do show a Captain Joshua LeFleur of Choctaw heritage was in service from 1830 to 1855, and his death is listed as happening in 1855 in Oklahoma Indian Territory, and Native Americans have long told stories of Bigfoot stealing children to eat. In 2014, a family videoed what I can only describe as an ape-looking creature in Calgary, Canada. It could be a bear, but it appears to walk in a bipedal fashion and seems to push branches out of its way like a human would if they were in the woods. Now, bears can stand upright, of course, but they wouldn't walk like this creature appears to. The quality of this footage is very good, and although it's not absolute concrete evidence because they were quite far away and it was shaky in parts, it is still some of the best video I have seen of Bigfoot so far. What do you make of this video? So, what about creatures that were once thought of to be part of the legendary cryptids? Well, if we take a look at the giant squid, these were once thought to be just that, a legend. People told stories of monsters that sank ships, and who knows, they might well have done if they were hungry enough. We can see then that some legends are actually true, and creatures that were once thought of as just folklore turn out to be real. Therefore, could Bigfoot and other cryptids just be animals that we haven't actually recorded as a species in science yet? I'm inclined to believe so, given how recently we found out about giant squids. Let me know what you think of these stories and cryptozoology in the comments. If you enjoyed the video, please give it a thumbs up, and if you're new to my channel, why not subscribe so you don't miss next week's episode. Thanks for watching.